Honestly, we found that the busier the people were, the more we wanted them because
They're high performers,
they're high
achievers.
performers. So you know that whatever they take on, they will do to the best of their ability.
Or they had to be able to get out of their comfort zone, have a track record of success, or if they didn't, have the hunger to try to prove to themselves that they could do it.
Yeah.
Creating an impact for yourself, for others, and you cannot do that unless you're continuously growing and learning new stuff. So that's how I see whether from a core value standpoint, we're a fit as well. But the last question it's a fun question that I like asking is, how do they prepare a peanut butter and jelly sandwich?
Get ready for the next iteration of you on your path to becoming wealthy. On this show, you'll get the insider's view on wealth creation, the class none of us got taught in school, with my co-host, daughter, and beginning investor, Sophia Bosch. And now, let's get started.
Welcome to the Becoming Wealthy podcast. I'm your host, Sophia Bosch, and I'm here with my co-host,
Michelle Bosch.
And today, I wanted to talk about a little bit more on stuff that we can relate to.
Okay.
So, that would be, for me, because I work with the nonprofit Blood Cancer United, I recruit. In my 3 years with them, I've had to recruit, whether that's team members that are fundraising for me, recruit ambassadors that would go out, also fundraise, but also are willing to manage teams, and so on. You are a little bit similar, just in the sense of you're hiring, you're recruiting for them to be an employee.
Yeah. Or sometimes an affiliate, or recruiting for a collaboration as well. With a joint venture.
And I think we've realized that it's very similar.
Yeah, I think there might be some similarities for sure. So what what did you do that very first year when you needed boots on the ground, basically, to actually do a lot of the fundraising with you and for you, because you were co-leading with 3 others, but then you guys, build up a team of like around 20. And what I like to call or find the similarities is that those people that you looked for, those 20 people, are the equivalent of sometimes production level staff in a company. So,
we wanted a group of at least 10 on 20. We were trying to win the competition of the student.
So you guys were kind of like managers, and you were looking for 10 producers that are actually producing the work, hitting the pavement.
Or helping us.
Yeah. Okay.
And because we did a lot of the fundraising, however, to maximize the impact, we needed more people.
Okay.
So we went out into all of our networks, our friends. It's normal to have a multi-generational team. So get your grandma on the team, like aunt, anyone in this case that's related or has a personal connection to the cause, or has had cancer in some capacity. That's what we were looking for. Someone who had their why. Someone who was also hardworking, disciplined.
Okay.
Honestly, we found that the busier the people were, the better, the more we wanted them, because
they're high performers.
They're high performers. So you know that whatever they take on, they will do to the best of their ability.
Okay.
With that being said, we also gave people the chance that weren't on paper, weren't high achievers, but they just needed a chance to become that. So seeing potential in that, in people, and they turned out to be our highest performing teammates.
So they basically had something to prove. They were hungry and driven, and wanted to basically really make a difference and show to themselves, perhaps.
And people that were willing to get out of their comfort zone, because it's hard to ask for money in this context.
Yeah,
it's really hard to ask for money, especially when you're not exchanging something, like in a real estate transaction. Like, I'm having the money, you get the property. Like,
Yeah.
Something like that.
Or return.
Or return or something.
Yeah.
Something. But here it's just you're donating because out of the kindness of your heart.
So they had to be able to get out of their comfort zone, have a track record of success, or if they didn't, have the hunger to try to prove to themselves that they could do it.
Yeah. And of course, because we were also trying to maximize the support that we would get and the impact we would make for the organization, we also looked at who are the people, what family do they come from, like will their parents support them in this and give them access to their network? Because if not, it's just them asking their grandparents, their aunts, uncles, which is amazing, but it only gets you so far.
Makes sense.
Even though those grandparents could introduce you to their friends or whatever, it still only gets you so far. Your parents are a big help, so we looked at people whose family would help them in that sense.
Yeah, basically that the family would be supportive of the activities that they would be doing. The same for us when we're hiring. I mean, if they're married, it's like you would hope that the spouse is also supportive of the kind of if it's specifically a position that is going to require some crazy hours, especially at month end, for example, on the accounting side. Or maybe on the marketing side with, promotions during the weekend.
Yeah.
You do want also the family to be supportive. So I see where you're coming from there. I see the parallels on my end. Now, tell me about the second year. So that was the first year. You were looking for all your producers. With the second year, you're looking for kind of like what you were the year prior, like managers. Yeah.
Yeah.
How was that different?
That was different in the sense that you were trying. Well, yes, most of the qualities are similar.
Yeah.
A team member is the time commitment's less, the responsibility is less. So when finding team members, they are more inclined to say yes. Then leaders, they take the role of like, okay, I then have to. There's much more responsibility in the sense that they now have to manage other people. Their parents have to fully be on board because family has to be supportive because that's what they're doing. They're also competing for a state title. There's much more skin in the game. In a way.
Yeah, I get it.
So, and it's also like there's no way to fail at fundraising. Like you will get support in one way or another, whether it's, even if it's not a monetary contribution, it is
maybe I refer you to
someone else. Like there's no way to lose.
And every no gets you closer to the yes.
Yes, exactly. So with that, you have to find people that had the time or are willing to put in the time, willing to take on that responsibility, will manage the other people and have good leadership skills. Or you see
what kind of leadership skills were you looking for?
I was looking for people, because these are high schoolers, people that are well connected in the school, like know a lot of people, because that opens your network up. People that are kind, because that kindness will translate to your team members or to the people you're asking.
Especially when you're having stressful, tense moments, and because it is a philanthropic
conflict resolution. Like how well do you basically put someone on the spot and say you did wrong in front of the whole crowd, or acknowledge that something might have gone wrong, not say their name, and then pull them off to the side. Like how you would do that.
How you find that out, though? Did you ask them? Because when I'm interviewing, for a potential team member, I am asking for a situation in which, there was a difficulty or a challenge at work that needed to be resolved either with a peer that was a horizontal peer, or a peer that was, a boss and how that was resolved. I want to hear about it. But I explicitly ask those questions when I'm interviewing and trying to recruit my people.
I
Figure it out.
I didn't, in the way that my school is very small.
Okay.
So I was trying to recruit out of this is kind of last year and this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
In a way, but if you're trying to recruit someone for the actual campaign to run a team, from my school, I would look at what I've heard, because it's a small school. You hear everyone's business.
Okay.
So like any prior knowledge you have on them.
How did you come up with your initial list of prospects, though?
So my initial list was people. We had some parameters. We believe that sophomore or junior year is probably your best year. Senior year, you're busy on college applications and you've pretty much done everything that you can to make your resume look good. So that's another perk of this competition. It makes your resume look good. And freshman year, I think you're almost a little young in the sense like you just got to high school, like you don't know kind of what's going on, and then you're expected to just start something and run a team. You haven't established those connections yet within your peers.
So basically, your prospects were you basically segmented to sophomores and juniors, possibly.
I focus on sophomores and juniors just because that's the year where they're most. It's in their best interest to do something.
Look for something.
To look for something like a passion.
And they have already established some of the networks that you said.
And then I looked at.
Do you get any referrals? Like, for example, in our line of business, when we're recruiting, we're definitely taking or giving much more weight and time to a referral that comes from a friend. I usually put an ad, either on social media or on, in one of the big employment sites. And we have a job description there where we talk about our company and the core values of our company to make sure that even in the language that we talk about those core values and in the language of the responsibilities of that position, that it attracts the right kind of people to us.
Yeah.
So that are go-getters.
So last year, I was just trying to do it off of my personal ass, who I thought.
Okay.
This year, I went with the strategy of, yes, while doing that too, it didn't go as well as I thought. So therefore, I went on stage at morning meeting and I presented the idea to the whole.
What is morning meeting?
Morning meeting is like every Monday you go up, give your announcements for the week, like a club meeting you're having, and you have access. Yeah, you have access to the whole upper school because they're all in the auditorium.
9th through 12th grade.
9th through 12th grade.
Okay.
So I gave an announcement saying, I have this opportunity. I'm sending out an email. Respond to the email if you're interested. Please and thank you. So I essentially went in after that. I sent that email and I made sure to craft it like you were saying with, you're expected to do this. This is your expectation. I gave some bigger numbers just so I could, it sounds bad, but weed out the people that weren't ready for that responsibility or were too intimidated.
Yeah.
And therefore only catch the people that, one, were motivated by either whatever it might be. I know a lot of people that actually I got were people whose parents have had a blood cancer of some type, have been affected directly and have been helped by the organization.
Okay, wow.
Or
amazing.
Yeah, you never know when someone's affected. Or has been affected by some sort of cancer or something.
Or has a friend.
Or has a friend. So I caught a lot of people, and through the email, that also was a little tricky in the sense that you had to wait for the email back and forth. So it lengthens things.
The process, yeah.
And actually the person that I was able to get for this year's campaign came up to me in person. She's
that,
like,
that human connection,
yes.
in-person connection.
And I work so much better when I'm able to explain something in person. I can give so much more information, be more personable about it than in an email.
Yeah.
So the person that actually came up to me or started a conversation with me, like I was microwaving my food.
Uh-huh.
And she's like, "Oh, Sophia, like I heard about that opportunity. I would love to learn more." And so I went in and I emailed her all the extra information and I sent it to her. And sure enough, she's like, "Yes, I would love to do it."
Okay.
So
Did you have to follow up with her?
I did. That was that email.
Okay.
She was like, "I'll respond to the email." I hadn't gotten a response. So I took it from it's also in my best interest to recruit someone.
Yeah.
So I took it upon myself to send her that more information. And it turned
Okay.
out.
And
So my extra effort.
okay, wonderful. Well, there's not a whole lot of differences. You're following some of the same principles that I would follow in that, to get my initial prospect of or list of potential candidates that apply to a position, I'll make it known publicly, whether on social and inside of our community, through our email list, they're recruiting for X and X positions to
The whole school.
yeah, through X and X position, position, and then you have a few people that raise their hand that you then proceed to interview, and to tell me a little bit about their story, their background, and how they see themselves as a fit for this particular position. I then usually ask them about a particular challenge or hardship or something that they have overcome, because in my experience, people that have that and that can give me a good answer to that question usually are driven, ambitious, and have something to prove and are willing to, you know, get out of their comfort zone. Another question that I like asking is, what do they do for fun on the weekends, on their free time? And usually, the people, there's these two possible answers, and I have respect for both answers. One of them is the people that will say, if it's for example, something in the technology space, even in their free time, they're geeking over
Yeah.
technology
Because
in
that's
some way,
what they
shape, or
love.
form, because that's what they love, which is amazing, because that just gives me an incredible sense of their growth potential and growth mentality to keep on learning and staying curious and being a student of life versus
Security that they are actually doing their work.
and we are, one of our core values is transformation, and with transformation means creating an impact for yourself, for others, and you cannot do that unless you're continuously growing and learning new stuff. So that's how I see whether from a core value standpoint, we're a fit as well. And the other answer that I sometimes get, and I also have respect for that, is they will do something completely different than what they're applying for. Like, um, I had a person once that was into, I think, taking care of horses, and she was applying for an accounting position. And I have respect for that, because what that tells me is that this person, in times of long hours of stress, is going to be able to manage and cope with that stress with something outside of what they typically do, and that it is wholesome, and that basically for their mental health is going to be able to bring kind of like equanimity to their team, especially if they're on the management level, that exactly,
And
they're
be able to relate to more people.
and step back also from a particular situation or a problem or a challenge, to think about it, to let it permeate, percolate, and find solutions outside of that of the problem.
And I also, when you're saying horses, taking care of horses, I think of the immense responsibility that also comes with that. Taking care of like live animals, the huge animals like that, you have to be committed to them. So
Yeah. And then one last question that I usually ask, which is for fun, I usually ask like asking people. Well, we also talk a little bit about compensation, like where they're at in terms of like their expectations for salary, and so on, just to see if we're in the ballpark, and if it's worth pursuing the next set of the interview, which is usually then getting a Colby assessment done to see if they're in fact from a way or modus operandi of taking action, if they're the right person for the right position. But the last question it's a fun question that I like asking is, how do they prepare a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? And depending on the position that they're applying for, if this is a person that is applying for a job that requires, big picture, big vision, that person will respond very different than the person that is, for example, in accounting, and it's really technical and is really detail oriented. And so what I have been able to do is basically confirm this is the right person for this position based on their response to that question, or be like, no, this person is not. So I've had a situation for the same, accounting position that I was telling you about. I've had somebody say, the response to that question was, well, I take my piece of bread, I find my peanut butter, I get my jelly out, I get my knife out, I slap the peanut butter on one side, the jelly on the other side, and I bring that sandwich together, basically, and I enjoy it. And then I've had the person that says, well, I get my plate out, my knife, my peanut butter, and it has to be chunky peanut butter. And jelly, I like from this particular brand. In this flavor, I take everything out. I cut the bread in half, or I smothered on one side. I make sure that it's evenly, every single corner is nicely, covered in peanut butter. The other side, I put those together. I like cutting the loaf in diagonally, so that it's easier to eat. I will wash my knife and then take my sandwich, enjoy, put away my jars, and
yeah, okay.
And so then you can see, okay, for an accountant, which one would you prefer? Number 2, because that person is incredibly detail oriented. So those are some of the things that I do on our end, and
that's fun.
And I always think of, like, in a leadership position, Sophia, what you're gonna find, if we can close this off, is you're going to have to always be on the lookout for people, good people in your life, as friendships, good people in your life as potential business partners, good people in your life for joint ventures, good people in your life that are going to become part of your team, whether, work with you or for you. That is like an ongoing endeavor that you always have to be on the lookout for. You always are recruiting in one shape or form, you're always going to be on the lookout for that, for amazing people that fit, into different categories in your life. And it sounds a little bit, I don't know, maybe too calculated, but it's a way to filter very, very quickly, I think, opportunities, people, and make sure that always you're surrounded by the right kinds of people in your life, and you're having the right environment that is encouraging, that has the same values that you have, and that is getting you closer to what your goals are, while you are helping them get closer to their goals as well. So at the end of the day, that's kind of like what you're doing, right? You're helping.
We also want the environment to, because even though it's
uplifting,
even though it's a competition, you're all there together to support a bigger cause than you, than yourself, or than all of us combined. So you want people that are willing to, well, yes, compete against each other, but also willing to be in it together.
Yeah, absolutely.
And support each other.
Love it. Well, so we're not very different. Yeah,
I guess not.
So that's a wrap, right, Sophia?
Yes. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching this episode. We'd greatly appreciate it if you left a 5-star review, and make sure to share with an important woman or person in your life. And next week we'll have another episode. Thank you.